When Caleb and I broke up, he laid it on the line. Whoever regrets this is a dog. 3 years later, we ran into each other at a party. He wrapped his arms around me, his eyes red. Woof. The door opened and a man walked in. Sorry I'm late. The moment everyone saw the guest of honor, the chattering stopped dead. The meaningless flattery that had filled the air moments before instantly morphed into a chorus of deferential Mr. Hayes. As if he were long accustomed to such scenes, the man's expression was indifferent. He gave a slight nod in the face of all the phony compliments. His every move radiated the aura of a man in charge. Before I came, my boss had warned me to be on my best behavior. He said the big shot tonight was the current head of Hayes Corp. Kiss up to him and your career is set. Piss him off and no one can save you. I just never expected him to be an old acquaintance. I raised my glass. Mr. Hayes, a pleasure. I'm Leo, project manager at Apex Corp. I've heard so much about you. Allow me to offer a toast. As if just now noticing a nobody like me, his gaze finally fell in my direction. Our eyes met. He repeated my name, his tone unreadable. Leo. My boss heard this and jumped in, trying to sound chummy. I hear you're an AU grad, Mr. Hayes. What a coincidence. Leo went to AU too. You two are alumni, maybe you've met before. For some reason, that seemed to strike a nerve. The man's casual demeanor vanished, replaced by an icy chill in his eyes. Never seen him. Don't know him. People exchanged confused glances, their eyes wide with surprise. They were probably wondering how I'd managed to offend him right off the bat. So much so that he wouldn't even offer a polite lie. But my expression didn't change. It was to be expected. After all, I was the one who dumped him. Caleb was a campus legend back then. It's only natural he wouldn't remember a nobody like me. My boss's face went pale. He quickly took over the conversation, trying to revive the atmosphere. The sharp liquor burned its way down my throat, barely suppressing the bitter wave rising inside me. I left midway through the event, but I could feel that heavy gaze on my back the entire time. 3 years isn't that long, but it was long enough to turn a vibrant young man into a mature powerhouse of the business world. He still looked the same, a star everyone orbited, radiant wherever he went. The only thing that had changed were his eyes, unfamiliar and distant, with no trace of their former tenderness. I splashed cold water on my face, trying my best to bury everything about Caleb Hayes back in the corner of my memory. Just as I stepped out of the restroom, a figure blocked my path. I paused. Mr. Hayes, can I help you? Mr. Hayes? Caleb closed the distance, a cold smirk on his face. What happened to wrapping your arms around my waist and cooing Caleb in that sweet little voice of yours? I chuckled lightly. Did that really happen? I seem to recall you saying we've never met, that you don't know me. So what exactly are you doing, cornering me here like this? I let my fingertips trail over his expensive suit, stopping over the steady beat of his heart. What's wrong? Can't get me out of your head? As if he'd heard something disgusting, Caleb's face darkened and he slapped my hand away. You wish. Good. This was more like it. This was the aftermath of a nasty breakup, of him vowing, whoever regrets this is a dog. We didn't make eye contact again for the rest of the night, not even when Caleb was escorted to his car. After tonight, our paths wouldn't cross again. The truth is, two people from such different worlds should never have crossed paths in the first place. That was as true for the current head of Hayes Corp as it was for the untouchable campus prince of AU 3 years ago. Back then, even the stray cats and dogs at AU had heard the name Caleb Hayes. Every day at the basketball court, waves of excited screams would erupt from the girls watching. The young man would leap into the air, graceful and sharp, and land with a dazzling smile, the warm sun plating him in a brilliant light. Oh my God, he's so hot. Caleb, you're a god my ass. The shrieking around me made my eardrums ache. I kept my head down and quickened my pace across the court. Suddenly, Caleb froze. Then he sprinted in my direction. Look out. By the time I heard the warning, it was too late. A heavy basketball slammed into my head. I collapsed to the ground, seeing stars. Hey, are you okay? A hand pulled me up from the ground. Feeling all eyes shift to me, I hated being the center of attention and took a step back, enduring the pain. I'm fine. Caleb insisted on taking me to the hospital for a checkup. After I told him I was fine for the nth time, he compromised on taking me to the school clinic. I kept my head down and walked ahead the whole way. It was Caleb who broke the silence. Why were you walking so close to the court? It's dangerous. I was confused. I've never been hit before. I heard him chuckle from above. You play with fire long enough, you're bound to get burned. I shut my mouth. So it was my fault for getting hit. As luck would have it, the school nurse wasn't there. Caleb pushed me down into a chair and took matters into his own hands. He gently dabbed my forehead with a cotton swab dipped in antiseptic. It was just a minor scrape, but the young man in front of me was incredibly focused and careful. Before this, I only knew him from rumors. Born with a silver spoon, powerful family, a true prince. The absurd thought, I guess the prince is more down to earth than I thought, had just popped into my head when our eyes met without warning. In his dark pupils, I saw my own flustered reflection. I was about to turn away when his fingers held my face in place. Don't move. The unique, fresh scent of a young man filled my senses. His face was just inches away, with sharp, handsome features, but he felt like a troublemaker breaking all the rules. He sent my heart into a chaotic, tumbling rhythm. I finally endured until he finished patching me up. I tried to make a quick escape with my head down, but Caleb stopped me, demanding my contact information. I told him it wasn't convenient. Then let me buy you dinner. If it hadn't been for this accident, we could have passed each other 1,000 times and he never would have noticed me. We weren't from the same world, there was no need to force it. I shook my head. That's not necessary. Just as he'd insisted on taking me to the clinic, Caleb leaned in close. His voice softened, full of sincerity. Come on, do me a favor. Just give me a chance to make it up to you. I found out later that Caleb was an amazing basketball player. That miss wasn't an accident. It was intentional. I chugged some hangover soup, forcing the memories out of my mind. I took the sleeping pills from the bedside table and forced myself to sleep. After all, I'd screwed up the project tonight. There was a tough battle ahead. I didn't expect my boss to call me into his office the next day, practically weeping with joy. He said it was all thanks to my connection with Caleb as alumni that we'd managed to land the partnership. Hayes Corp. Agreed? You bet. My boss shoved the drafted documents into my arms. But you'll have to meet with someone from Hayes Corp in person to finalize the details of the contract. Compared to the huge corporations Hayes Corp usually worked with, Apex was laughably small. What was his game? Seeing my hesitation, my boss sweetened the deal. Leo, don't you need money? If this partnership goes through, not only will I quintuple your bonus, but I'll give you a promotion and a raise at the end of the year. The promises might have been empty, but my need for money was real. I took the contract and immediately headed to the Hayes Corp building. To my surprise, the person in charge looked troubled when he saw me. I'm sorry, but Mr. Hayes is personally handling this project. If you have any questions, you'll have to contact him directly. The number wasn't in my phone anymore, but those 11 digits had been burned into my brain long ago. I dialed the number I knew by heart. The familiar ringtone echoed in my ear. For a moment, I was transported back years ago, to a time when I insisted we get matching couples' ringtones. Caleb had refused. It's lame. Are you insulting my taste? Fine, we'll change it. You're the best, honey. Is that all? I immediately straddled his waist, my breath hitching as I let him claim his reward for being so obedient. The busy signal on the other end finally snapped me out of it. I swallowed the dull ache in my heart and dialed again. After several unanswered calls, I switched to texting to explain why I was there. After what felt like an eternity, he sent me a location and a passcode. Wait for me here. No matter how much I'd tried to suppress my memories of Caleb, they all came flooding back the moment I stood in front of the apartment we used to share. Back then, Caleb wasn't some untouchable CEO. He was just a rich kid slumming it with me, working odd jobs to see how the other half lived. We scrambled to make the $3,000 rent, coming home exhausted every day but never once complaining. Looking at the building now, I pressed my index finger to the scanner almost instinctively. Beep. The door unlocked, just like it had countless times before, welcoming its owner home. Inside, the layout was familiar, the furniture was in the same place, and even the air smelled the same. I took a step forward, and the past came back to me piece by piece. The living room, the kitchen, the balcony, the garden. I could vividly picture the traces of our lovemaking in every corner, as clear as if it were yesterday, even after 3 years. But eventually, those images swirled into a dense, dark cloud, pressing down until I couldn't breathe. Just as I felt like I was about to suffocate, the front door finally opened. Caleb walked in from the entryway, unfastening his cufflinks as he went. It was as if he didn't see me, or perhaps it was just like a scene replaying from our past. "Mr. Hayes," I stopped him. "I've brought the contract for the project. If there are no issues, could you please sign it?" Caleb was still radiating the frustration of a long day at work. "Are you in that much of a hurry?" I smiled. "I am, actually. I didn't know why the CEO of the entire corporation had to personally sign such a minor contract. But after the undisguised disgust he'd shown me that night, I knew I couldn't stay long." Caleb let out a sarcastic laugh. "To think a small contract like this would have you chasing me down. What, was the money my family gave you back then not enough?" I nodded, playing along. "You're right. I should have added another 0 to that check your mother gave me." Our breakup had been ugly. It was like a scene from a cliché primetime drama about a wealthy family. Mrs. Hayes had shown up right on cue, bodyguards in tow, and slapped a check on the table, demanding I leave her son. The only difference was, instead of shouting that our love was priceless, I told her the check wasn't big enough. Every word from Caleb was laced with barbs. He had every right to resent me, to hate me. After all, when that proud young man had swallowed his pride and begged me not to go, I'd shown no mercy. Compared to a few $1 million, what's love? The hatred in Caleb's eyes now was the same as it was back then. He grabbed my chin, his grip tight. "Looks like that loser, Liam, couldn't give you much of a life either." I winced but shot back, "Who's Liam?" Caleb's face grew even darker. "Your romantic history is so extensive, you've forgotten your exes?" Through his gritted teeth, I finally dredged up the memory of that person from some dusty corner of my mind. Some random guy I'd accidentally bumped hands with, and he still remembered it. "Not at all. I still remember you, Mr. Hayes." Fury blazed in Caleb's eyes, and he tightened his grip. "You still have that smart mouth." I smiled fearlessly. "Then do something to shut me up." The next second, his lips crashed down on mine. His bites were frantic, as if he wanted to devour me whole. TSK. 3 years and he still bites like a dog. I was breathless, the curse dying on my lips. The black card he shoved into my bra was what truly shut me up. "You need money, right? This black card has no limit. You'll have 2 drivers on rotation, professionally trained bodyguards, 3 24-hour maids, and a 5,000 square foot penthouse downtown." I touched my bleeding lip. "What's the meaning of this, Mr. Hayes? Rekindling an old flame? Or is my ex-boyfriend becoming my sugar daddy?" Caleb bit down again, hard, pouring all his hatred into it. "This is to show you that the few million our relationship wasn't worth? I can give you double that 3 years later. Only this time you'll be the one begging me." Spoken like a true capitalist. The things he offered so casually were things a normal person could never achieve in a lifetime of hard work. With Caleb's power and influence today, he wouldn't have made such an offer if he wasn't certain I'd accept. And he was right. I couldn't refuse. What was dignity? Was it bending over for money? Or was it working myself to the bone for a promotion until I was hospitalized with a bleeding stomach? The things people at the bottom like me considered hard work were worthless in Caleb's eyes. He could make it all disappear with a single word. Besides, a debt of love must be repaid. Caleb waited patiently. No one knew the man in front of me better than I did. Before I could say something degrading, I straddled him and leaned in, biting his ear. Then I'd be a fool not to accept. Sugar daddy. The next day, half awake, I instinctively reached for the bedside table. The thing I expected wasn't there. My heart plummeted as I jolted fully awake. It felt like something was choking me, a drowning sensation washing over me. The panic only subsided when it was replaced by a sharp pain from down below. My vision slowly came into focus. The room was so familiar it felt like I was still dreaming. But the man lying beside me was real, his breath rising and falling evenly, his body radiating a genuine warmth. It wasn't a dream. Seeing the shocking bruises all over my body, I actually felt a sense of relief. That bastard. I wonder how long he'd been starved to be so rough. He hadn't changed a bit after all these years. The first time we did it, we fumbled for what felt like hours, breaking out in a nervous sweat. In the end, it hurt so much I cried. I cried, and Caleb cried with me. But as he cried, he thrust even deeper. Compared to the eager, clumsy boy back then, the Caleb of today was a full-blown beast. What are you thinking about? A hand wrapped around my waist, pulling me back to reality. When he realized the gesture was too intimate, a flash of irritation crossed Caleb's face, but he didn't let go. I took the opportunity to lean back into his arms. I was just thinking how much your technique has improved over the years, Mr. Hayes. You seem very experienced. He tilted my chin up. Caleb looked me in the eye. And what about you? I just smiled in response. Caleb gritted his teeth. Leo, don't test my limits. You can't afford the consequences of misbehaving. His domineering warning sounded unbelievably sweet to my ears. I bit his lower lip. Whatever you say, Daddy. I don't know what Caleb's idea of obedient was. Not only did he demand daily reports of my schedule, but he also insisted I move in here. The places I had once emptied were filled up again. It was as if we had never broken up. Every corner of the apartment a testament to a love as strong as ever. By day, I was a workhorse for my company. By night, I was a workhorse writhing on top of Caleb. Caleb offered me a much better deal to jump ship and become his personal secretary. I refused. He knew that once he made a decision, he wouldn't change it. And I knew that when I refused something, I wouldn't back down. Years of mutual understanding meant he didn't push the issue. He just sulked for a few days. Tonight, Caleb had a business dinner, so I made some hangover soup and waited for him in the living room. The clock struck 12 before the man, reeking of alcohol, finally stumbled through the door. He seemed a bit surprised to see me. Why are you still up? I was worried you might need a driver. A few years ago, Caleb had been in a car accident. The driver, exhausted, had dozed off and crashed into a tree. After that, whenever Caleb had a dinner and drank, I would go pick him up, no matter how late it was. I handed him the warm soup, perhaps remembering the past. His foul mood from the last few days seemed to soften. Did you put lemon in this? I nodded. Isn't that how you've liked it for the past 3 years? Caleb froze. 3 years? You've seen me? As if he'd caught on to something, he grabbed my wrist tightly. Answer me. Have you? Have you been secretly watching me all this time? Did you ever try to find me? The grip on my wrist was painfully tight, but the pain was clarifying. I laughed. Of course I have. You know I'm obsessed with money, and the Mr. Hayes of today practically reeks of it. How could I possibly let that go? The hope that had been shining in his dark eyes instantly faded. Caleb didn't even drink the soup. He carried me into the bedroom and found another way to sober up. That damn capitalist expected a return on every penny he spent, and then some. Fortunately, we were always in sync in that department. Caleb never held back, and I never showed weakness. Every time ended in a thoroughly satisfying climax. Caleb started turning down unnecessary dinners, coming home earlier and earlier. My workspace moved from the study to the living room, so I could see him the moment he walked through the door. It was as if the past 3 years had never been missing from our lives. This weekend, we both happened to be free, so I suggested we go to the supermarket to buy some groceries. Caleb frowned. Since when do you like to cook? During those years when I cherished him like a delicate flower, I never let him carry anything heavy, do any chores, or even set foot in the kitchen. I was the one who never had to lift a finger. The real prince born with a silver spoon was the one who learned to cook for me. I raised an eyebrow. My status is different now, isn't it? I have to do something to please you. Nowadays, whenever I said something he didn't like, Caleb wouldn't waste his breath arguing. He'd just kiss me, a simple, rough way to shut me up. The supermarket was packed on a weekend. Caleb's tall frame shielded me from the crowd, but his brow was furrowed enough to crush a mosquito. I couldn't help but laugh. It must be tough for you to descend to the mortal realm again, Mr. Hayes. Caleb's face darkened. Don't make me kiss you right here. Yes, sir. Caleb grabbed the back of my neck, but just as he was about to warn me, a voice interrupted our playful banter. Caleb? We both froze. The woman walking toward us had a delicate face and was dressed in expensive designer brands that screamed privilege. I'd seen that face on TV countless times. Under the title Caleb Hayes' fiancée, the tender moment vanished. My smile faded, and I said I'd wait outside. As I turned to leave, I felt Caleb's gaze on me, cold and piercing. Back in the car, a strange tension filled the air. Neither of us spoke. The fact that this woman, who had appeared 3 years ago, still couldn't stir up any trouble was telling enough. But this was never just about the two of us. After a long silence, Caleb finally spoke, his voice heavy. Is there anything you want to ask me? I rolled down the window and lit a cigarette. Ask you what? This is just a contractual relationship. When you get tired of me, just give me a heads up. So, in your eyes, this whole time has just been a contract? Caleb snatched the half-smoked cigarette from my hand and crushed it out in his palm. Do you really not care at all? Care? It's a funny word. Can so easily break down your defenses, yet all you can do is respond with pained silence. Fine. Nothing to ask. Caleb stared at my silent form. A cruel, cold smile spread across his lips, tearing apart the peaceful illusion of the past few weeks. Then you must have something to say, right? I froze. A sense of unease crept into my heart as the man before me pressed closer. After you took that money from my family, you didn't keep a cent. You donated it all to an orphan named Ryan. So you needed money for charity? Is that it? Leo, do you ever tell the truth? If it wasn't for the money, why did you break up with me? The man's voice was hoarse, his eyes red. Each word gutted me. Leo, what are you hiding? In your eyes, do I not even have the right to know? Chaotic images flooded my mind, only to be sliced apart by a sharp blade. They finally shattered completely after I gave Caleb a cruel, final yes. The car door slammed shut. Silence returned. I fumbled in my pocket, but it was empty. Without the numbing effect of nicotine, my chest felt tight, and I struggled to breathe. It was as if Caleb had taken all the oxygen with him when he left, and even my heart had fallen silent. Caleb didn't come back that night. The next day, a maid appeared in the living room and gently informed me that Mr. Hayes had gone on a business trip and wouldn't be back for a while. I smiled and said it was fine. We'd see each other sooner or later anyway. Sure enough, on the third night, a hot body wrapped around me from behind. The pungent smell of alcohol chased away my drowsiness. I turned over. You've been drinking again? Yeah. Still angry? Yeah. Caleb was a man of few words tonight. Just like every time we fought, he buried his face in my shoulder, his voice muffled. Baby, it hurts. Hold me. That simple phrase struck my heart, leaving it bleeding. My eyes welled up with tears as I hugged him tightly. Caleb fell into a quiet sleep. Neither of us mentioned the argument. Over the next few days, Caleb was like a different person. Every night, he would shed his stern, cold mask and bury his face in my shoulder like a clingy child, calling me baby. I let him take whatever he wanted, indulging him without limits. One night, Caleb came home reeking of alcohol again. After I got him settled, I went to the kitchen. The maid heard the noise and came out, thinking I was hungry and offering to help. I quickly told her it wasn't necessary. Just as I finished speaking, I saw the heavily intoxicated man coming down the stairs. I frowned. What are you doing up? The maid followed my gaze and froze. Mr. Leo, what are you talking about? The porcelain bowl in my hand was still warm. I held it carefully. He's really drunk tonight. I'm making him some hangover soup. The maid's face went pale, and she grabbed my arm tightly. Her voice trembled with fear. But Mr. Leo, Mr. Hayes hasn't been back at all recently. Crash. The bowl of soup slipped from my hands. The man who had been just inches away vanished the moment the porcelain shattered. The maid screamed, "Mr. Leo, are you all right?" I stared at the empty space in front of me, stunned. How long has he been gone? The maid told me the date. It had been a week. I'm sorry, I scared you. The maid said something behind me, but the surroundings grew quiet again, and a few seconds later, Caleb reappeared. This time, as he passed, I didn't dare to stop. After that, I stayed in my room every day, waiting. The order from Caleb to leave never came. Instead, an old acquaintance did. The middle-aged woman sitting on the sofa was as elegant as she had been 3 years ago. I thought after you took the money, you wouldn't come back. I sat across from her, just as I had back then. I also thought Mrs. Hayes and I would never see each other again. Mrs. Hayes got straight to the point. How much this time? 5 million? 10? That's not enough. This time, however, I didn't stay long. Caleb can afford that now. Understanding the implication, Mrs. Hayes's face grew darker. Aren't you afraid Caleb will find out what happened back then? I smiled and retorted, then why haven't you told him the truth all these years, Mrs. Hayes? You. Surprisingly, the woman wasn't as aggressive as she had been 3 years ago. When she spoke again, her tone held a hint of pleading. I know you still love Caleb, but you don't want him to end up like your mother, dying right in front of you, do you? Please, I'm begging you. Let Caleb go, won't you? 2 hours later, a hurried figure appeared in the entryway. He visibly relaxed when he saw me, but the suitcase next to me shattered his forced composure. If I hadn't rushed back, were you going to disappear again? Just leave me with a weird breaking up and vanish without a word, just like 3 years ago? The man's hair was a mess from the wind. For someone always so meticulous, he looked almost pathetic. No, I walked toward the real, tangible Caleb in front of me. I waited for you this time, and I'm supposed to thank you for that? Caleb's eyes were wide with fury. Thank you for not taking the money to humiliate me this time? For not suddenly disappearing and making me search for you like a madman for 3 years? Do you have any idea what I was thinking on the way back here, thousands of miles away, when I heard my mom had come to see you? I was thinking about how I was going to break your legs, how I was going to lock you up forever. His words were terrifying, but no one knew how long I'd been waiting to hear them. Okay, Caleb, you can do whatever you want, just like I had been doing for the past week. I hugged him and gently patted his back. The difference was, the man in my arms now wouldn't rest his head on my shoulder and whine. No amount of patting could soothe his anxiety. Why? Out of all the potential partners, why did I choose Apex? That night, why did I just happen to show up at the dinner you were at? Leo, you knew, didn't you? My voice trembled, but I didn't deny it. I knew. The man who had been like an out-of-control beast just moments ago gradually calmed down. When he spoke again, his voice was a mixture of anger and hurt. You knew. So you played along this whole time, just to make me happy. Why? Because you feel guilty? Caleb's eyes turned red. He undid his cufflink, revealing the old scar on my wrist and tracing it with his finger. You still have feelings for me. Tell me. Okay? Just tell me everything. Whatever the reason, I'll forget the past. I'll forgive everything, as long as you just tell me. This is our last chance to be honest with each other. Leo. Years ago, he was a young man who had given up his family's protection, who had nothing. When he found out I had taken the money, he didn't get angry. He just held me and begged me not to give up, to just wait for him. I waited and waited. I finally waited until he was powerful enough. But time had taken so much, just not me. So today, 3 years later, all I could do was watch him silently, engraving his face into my memory one last time. The hands gripping my shoulders lost their strength. The light in Caleb's dark eyes faded completely. His voice was raw, each word dripping with blood. Leo, you're heartless. Leo, you're heartless. You gave up on the one person who could pull you out of the mud. Leo, you're heartless. You hurt the only person in the world who loves you. Again and again. Why don't you just die? It was like being in the dark again, with the middle-aged man looming over the small child. Why didn't you die? Why didn't you go down and join your mother? The sharp knife was still dripping blood. Everyone was trying to restrain the man. Only the child ran forward, ignoring everything, and knelt before him, crying, "Dad, it's me, Leo. Please wake up. Look at me." The people around them cursed. They said he was just like his crazy father, with no regard for his own life. But they didn't know that the madman they shunned like a viper was the child's only family in the world. The child prayed every day, prayed for them to let his father come back. His father wasn't sick, he would be himself again soon. Perhaps heaven heard the child's wish, because one night, his father finally came home. He stood by the child's bed, smiling and calling his nickname, Leo. The child was overjoyed. But before he could get a good look at his father's face, a descending knife shattered all his hopes. No, the child struggled violently. When he finally managed to open his eyes, he realized he'd been struggling for 15 years. "You're awake?" I tried to sit up but was pulled back by something restraining me. Familiar handcuffs. Dr. Quinn was concise. "I saw your records. You haven't been in for your prescription in over 2 months. I was just passing by that day and went up to see you. I found you passed out in the living room." I let out a sigh of relief. "I owe you one. 2 years ago, when Quinn had just graduated, I happened to become his first patient." In his words, compared to the patients who'd been in love with chickens and geese for years, meeting me was a stroke of incredible luck. But this time, Quinn wasn't smiling. "Why did you stop taking your medication?" My memory was still hazy from waking up. It took a while to sort out the fragments that belonged to Caleb. I just wanted to try being a normal person when I was with him. Quinn, who already knew what had happened, let out a bitter laugh. "You knew he was the primary trigger for your hallucinations, and you still dared to play some sugar daddy game with him. Rich people really play dirty." He had a point. "Once he's no longer in here, we can proceed with the next stage of treatment." I lowered my eyes. "He won't be." The Caleb who had turned away so decisively would probably not want to appear in my dreams anymore. I wish I hadn't deliberately switched places with my colleague that night to attend that dinner. Just like 7 years ago, when the shy boy had kissed me and said "I like you," I wish I hadn't suppressed the beating of my heart and coldly rejected him. But those moments, the ones that shouldn't have happened, had been etched into my bones over the past 3 years, seeping into my blood, becoming the only nourishment for my frail existence. My only regret was that in the 3 years of my hallucinations, Caleb had tasted my cooking countless times, but to this day, he'll never know what it was like. For the next few days, whenever Quinn asked if he was there, my answer was the same. The medication numbed my thoughts. I would stare out the window at the empty sky, day after day, telling Quinn he's gone. The next stage of treatment went smoothly. One night, just as the lights went out, they suddenly flashed back on. I pressed the emergency call button by the bed and sighed into the phone. We might need to pause the treatment. I think I saw him again. But this was different from the visions I'd had for the past 3 years. The man standing outside the glass now wasn't smiling at me gently, nor was he softly calling me baby. His pupils contracted, filled with shock, disbelief, and a complex mix of emotions that mirrored the deep, dark night outside. He looked like the moon in the sky, watching a pitiful creature struggling helplessly. I tried to calm my racing heart and made a request to the person on the phone. "Quinn, can you unlock the handcuffs for me?" Fearing my voice was too shaky for him to hear, I enunciated each word carefully. "Just for a second, okay? Just for a second. Unlock them. Unlock them." My deafening roars couldn't stop his slow approach, nor could they stop the medical file clutched and crumpled in his hand. The man I had fantasized about countless times was really, truly here. And yet, I tried desperately to hide. "Get out. Get the hell out." But the medical file in his hand was my exposed, vulnerable core. It stripped me of any power to negotiate. In the end, all I could do was beg in a low voice. "Just let me have this last shred of dignity. Leave. I'm begging you." Whether it was 3 years ago or now, the Leo in Caleb's eyes was supposed to be the one who loved to laugh and joke, who loved to tease him until he lost control and muttered, "You little fox," the little son who could still be held for warmth. Not this. Not a rat hiding in the gutter. Caleb grabbed my chin and kissed me. Hard. The frantic biting sent jolts of pain through my nerves. I struggled at first, then my arms went limp and I gave up. Listening to the tremor in Caleb's chest, he asked, "When did it start?" "The day after we broke up." Before that, I had never doubted myself. When I was with Caleb, I always felt grounded. It wasn't until the lights went out that I completely lost my bearings and woke up. This normal person skin I wore was something Caleb had built for me. That day I went back for you. You were just waiting for me at home. We went on living as if nothing had happened, until I saw your social feed. Your location was in a state thousands of miles away. That's when I knew. I couldn't go looking for you anymore. I would have gone completely insane. Like that man, I would have become a complete lunatic, never to wake up again. I really thought I had escaped. But then I got a call from the police, telling me that Mark had escaped from the mental hospital and hacked a young couple to death. The invisible chains that had been binding me instantly dragged me back into the abyss. Tears streamed down my face. My trembling hand reached for Caleb's heart, pressing down, bit by bit, as if it were that knife from all those years ago. "Caleb, do you know how my mother died?" That man took a knife and plunged it into her heart without a second thought. I watched the despair in her eyes, watched her die with her eyes wide open. If someone hadn't held him back, I would have been the next one lying there. But what did I do wrong? And what did that little boy who lost his parents do wrong? Even after that man closed his eyes and ended it all, I'm the one left to pay his debt for the rest of my life. Mental illness can be hereditary. I clung to Caleb like a drowning person clutching a piece of driftwood. I'm scared. I'm scared I'll wake up one day, and you'll be the one lying in a pool of blood. Caleb held me tight, unafraid of the thorns that pierced him. But baby, seeing you like this hurts more than if you stabbed me in the heart. That day will never come for us. Don't be scared, baby. Don't be scared. What if one day I can't tell the difference again? Caleb produced a key from somewhere and unlocked my handcuff. Just as I thought I was free, there was another click. The cuff was now securely fastened to Caleb's wrist. "Then I'll be with you. When you can't tell the difference, just give a little shake, and I'll hold your hand and tell you, baby, this is real. The Caleb from your dreams won't appear again. The one who does appear will be the Caleb who will always love you." Gentle kisses landed on my forehead, my nose, my cheeks. Finally, our lips met. The man before me was just as domineering as the boy he once was. "Come on, do me a favor. Don't push me away again." My eyes filled with tears, blurring the image of the man in front of me, who was even crazier than I was. The words of refusal I wanted to say crumbled under his gentle, repeated baby. How could someone as broken as me deserve a man as good as Caleb? But only a fool like Caleb would risk his life for love. After becoming a major shareholder in the hospital the very next day, Caleb got a key to the isolation room and started treating it like his own home, coming and going as he pleased. I nearly wore out the emergency call button. After a few calls, Quinn gave up. The person who tied the bell is the one who must untie it. Besides, your condition is already very stable. As long as you take your medication on time and avoid major triggers, you're no different from a normal person. Oh right. And if you manage it well, you too can continue playing that dirty game of yours. When I asked to have the handcuff removed, Caleb just hid the key. He didn't leave my side for a moment. We were cuffed while sleeping, during his meetings, and even when I had to use the bathroom, he was afraid I'd run away. The truth is, not all patients need this kind of treatment. I had been the one who asked Quinn to lock me up, just to stop seeing Caleb everywhere I went. One night, I really had to go and couldn't pretend I didn't know where the key was anymore. I retrieved it from where Caleb had hidden it. On my way back, he caught me in the hallway. Caleb's eyes were bloodshot, like he was about to eat me alive. "The only thing I regret is not breaking your legs the first time I met you." Then I would have been obedient and stayed by his side. I silently picked up a nearby steel rod and offered it to him with an expectant look. After he realized I wouldn't run away, Caleb would only temporarily unlock the cuff when he absolutely had to leave for something important. He had held a grudge for 3 years over a guy who had accidentally touched my hand. Naturally, His petty heart couldn't stand the fact that Quinn was the person, besides himself, who had the most contact with me. One day, I came back from a checkup to find the room covered in roses. It was as over the top as you could imagine. What's all this? The man standing in the middle, holding a bouquet like a peacock spreading its feathers, was a far cry from the formidable Mr. Hayes. I'm making it official. Now that he mentioned it, our relationship was still technically based on that sugar daddy contract. I raised an eyebrow. Who was it that said, "Whoever regrets this is a dog"? Caleb's expression didn't change. Woof. The day I was discharged from the hospital happened to be the first day of summer. The sun was bright and high in the sky, just like the dazzling light that had coated him on the basketball court all those years ago. I leaned against Caleb's chest and whispered a secret to him. For the past 3 years, the image I saw most often in my dreams was of him lifting the basketball, inadvertently revealing his powerful, ripped core. To my surprise, Caleb just snorted. Why didn't I know anything about that? Don't think you can just get away with all the things you hid from me. Holding a grudge, are we? I stretched my back. Fine by me. I'm all yours anyway. You can settle the score however you want. It's just a shame we can't play with the handcuffs anymore. I'm afraid it might trigger something and ruin the mood. Caleb ground his teeth. Your mouth is only quiet when it's full. I nodded in agreement. Then hurry up and feed me, Mr. Hayes. Without another word, Caleb carried me home. Silly Caleb. There was actually one more secret. The dorms were actually very close to the academic buildings. Every day, I would take a 20-minute detour, walking around and around the court, all just to lock my eyes on that leaping figure, to hide him away in my own world, to possess him in secret.